Okay, so we'd like to do number 24 for real this time instead of doing number 26 like last time. So I've got f of x is this thing. So what do? I want to invert this, right? Okay, so to invert, what do I ask? Don't try to eyeball them. Start with a function blob. Function blob. What's the first thing I do? Okay, I start with x, then I add 2, so that's x. Now I'm at x plus 2's. Now what? Should apply the cube root. Okay, now we're at cube root of x plus 2's. Okay, so this whole thing, right, is f. You guys with me on that? If I want to go backwards, I want this stuff, right? This is what I'm looking for. That's f inverse. Yeah, I know. Okay, pretty cool. So what do I do here? Cube. And what's the opposite of add 2? Subtract 2. So if I start with a, all right, I want to write down f inverse. I start with an x, right? Then, so I'm starting over here. Then my first thing I do is cube it. So I get x cubed. That gets me to here. Then what do I do? Subtract 2. Then I'm done. So I should probably fix my notation, right? I've got a function rule name here, but what am I missing?
The x part.
Yeah, I'm missing the thing that tells me what the input's called. And then if I wanted to check whether this worked, I could stick that in there for x. See if I get x back out. Or I could stick this in there for x and see if I get x back out.
So basically the square root of x plus 2 cubed would have been x to the x cubed minus 2 as its inverse.
You had a square root in there somewhere, Josh. This is a cube root, right?
Cube root.
That's the only reason I was allowed to
I meant to say
undo it.
cube root.
Okay. So the square root function doesn't have an undoing.
It's probably because I was looking at the
Yeah, I'm
drawing
sure
there.
you were probably looking at the 2.
The drawing actually.
Ah,
kinda
okay.
threw me off.
You guys all good with this?
So when you do the inverse, are you starting with the cube root of x plus 2, or are you starting with x and just doing like the? Because
So I sort of stopped writing these in here, didn't I? The reason I stopped writing them in there is that really,
That's just what
right,
you're doing at x, right?
I should think about f inverse taking y's, right? Because f turns x's into y's. F inverse should take y's and turn them into x's, right? The thing is, all our functions are going from R to R, right? So instead of thinking about real numbers, right, going to some other real numbers, I might kind of call these x's and call these y's, right? Instead of thinking about two separate sets of numbers, I'm really thinking about the same set of numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And so these blobs are a bit of a lie, right? They're all actually going from one blob kind of back
Yeah,
to
I see
itself,
what you mean. Yeah.
right? These are all different copies of the same thing.
Mhm.
It's just really hard to follow the arrows if you don't do this. You
Yeah.
guys see that? So yeah, in some sense, really this isn't the most honest variable choice. Certainly if I was actually changing, like in our earlier example where I changed US shoe sizes to European shoe sizes, I should probably use different variable names there. And in that case, I would have something like, where I had US to European, I would have one function this way that I would call something, right? Like A for going abroad.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then this function that goes the other way, really, and this would be of maybe U, shoe size, right? And the function that goes the other way, I should call something like S for buying ski boots, right? and I would give that variable should be whatever that one puts out. So maybe it should take A's in. You guys see that? So yeah, we've lied to you a
The
little bit.
inverse function of x is x cubed minus 2 when x is the function of x.
What is it?
So what he's sort of getting at is that the name X in particular didn't mean anything here,
Okay.
right? It's just a variable that I just put a number in for. So the fact that this one's a function of X and that one's a function of X is really not such a problem, because all I'm going to do is stuff something in for X anyway.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Are opposite and inverse the same.
In some sense. In an addition sense. I keep using those words interchangeably because we don't really have the fineness of notation that we would need to discuss that.